The Taliban has an annual budget or annual revenue of $1.6 billion in the fiscal year that ended in March 2020. Literally. One of the most violent terrorist organizations in the world, $1.6 billion. Now, where does that money come from? We've got an entire breakdown of their financials. We've got a chart that shows line by line where the cash comes from. And so to start, you can see that they take in about $400 million or so from drugs. They've got $400 million from mining, $160 million from extortion and taxes, $240 million of foreign donations. Exports make up another 240, real estate's 80 million. And then on top of that, there's another up to $500 million that comes from specific country contributions. So let's get into the drugs first. We've got two photos that I want to show you, which shows the nuance and the complexity of what's going on in Afghanistan. The first photo is an individual with a rocket launcher sitting in the fields. The next photo is other soldiers standing with rifles in a field. Same fields, two different sides. Now the drugs bring in $416 million. Afghanistan, over the last 5 years, has accounted for approximately 84% of global opium production. That is a monstrous number. Afghanistan is responsible for 84% of global opium production over the last 5 years. The Taliban, which has opium in areas under their control, imposes a 10% tax on every single link in the drug production chain. That includes the farmers. That includes a 10% tax on the labs that turn the plant into a drug. And that includes the logistics of getting the drugs out of the country. Multiple points in that supply chain, the Taliban takes a 10% tax. And it leads to over $400 million of annual revenue. Afghanistan brought 84% of global opium production over the last 5 years. Absolutely nuts. At the same time that the US is occupying their country. Another $400 to $464 million. There's two different estimates we found. So somewhere between 400 to 450 million comes from mining. Now there's iron ore, marble, copper, gold, zinc, and other materials and minerals that are in the country of Afghanistan. It is even estimated that Afghanistan may have one of the greatest lithium deposits in the entire world. Obviously, there are some legitimate businesses that are mining these minerals, and they are going and bringing them to the global stage and driving revenue. But also the Taliban, both with illegal mining, but also taxation on top of those legitimate businesses. And so if there's money to be made, the Taliban is going to put their hand into it. They make $400 to $464 million from the mining of iron ore, marble, copper, gold, zinc, and other minerals or materials. There are small-scale mineral extraction operations and then also big Afghan mining companies. And they basically pay the Taliban to allow them to run their businesses. Which leads us to what is usually classified as taxes, and everyone always puts in parentheses, potentially extortion. The Taliban made $160 million last year from extortion and taxes. The taxed industries include mining operations, media, telecommunications, and development projects funded by international aid. They do everything from a 10% tax on farmers' harvest to a 2.5% wealth tax. That's right. The Taliban issues a 2.5% wealth tax on the people in the areas under their control. Drivers are charged for using highways in Taliban-controlled regions. Shopkeepers pay to keep their shops open. The Taliban, when they take over an area or they control an area, they get paid. It's no different than the mafia or anybody else. They basically say, we will protect you. We will allow you to run your business. We won't mess with you, but just pay us your tax. Anywhere from 2.5% wealth tax up to as much as 10% for these various things. Then you start getting into really, really weird parts of their financials. Things like foreign donations. Now, foreign donations seems like a nondescript title for this section. It's categorized as private donors and international institutions across the globe in Persian Gulf countries, private citizens from Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, Iran, and other Persian Gulf nations. I don't really know exactly where the $240 million come from, but $240 million makes its way from outside of Afghanistan into the Taliban's pockets through what they call donations. At one point, we read an article and they categorized it as charitable donations. And I said, we will not categorize that as charitable donations. It is a foreign donation. Exports makes up another $240 million. There are various everyday consumer goods, including poppy and opium and looted minerals, which we already discussed. But they also have a lot of effort, energy, and all sorts of products in the automobile and auto parts industry. Afghanistan actually is one of the greatest exporters of auto parts in the world. And so, of course, there's money being made. There's exports going out of Taliban-controlled areas. They're taking their taxes. They're getting paid $240 million of those exports. And then in one of the craziest line items, the Taliban made $80 million on real estate. They own real estate in Afghanistan, Pakistan, and potentially other countries. We don't know everything, obviously. But it's estimated $80 million from real estate. I don't know if that means that the Taliban is a landlord and literally you show up and they say, give me my rent, and that's part of this revenue. I don't know how that works in other countries where the Taliban may not have a stronghold, but there's estimated $80 million in real estate revenue that comes from the Taliban, comes to the Taliban. And then lastly, there are what we categorize as foreign countries. And so it's estimated that up to $500 million from Russia, Iran, Pakistan, and Saudi Arabia. In 2008, that number was $106 million from foreign sources. Today, the governments of Russia, Iran, Pakistan, and Saudi Arabia are believed to bankroll the Taliban, and experts say it could be to the tune of up to $500 million a year. Absolutely bonkers when you start to think about this. Now, we have an infographic. I want to show you how quickly the Taliban, who had almost no control of the country while the U.S. occupation was playing out, to, in the last couple of weeks, now, this taxation, this control of the country, how quickly it changed hands. And remember, the Taliban controls more of Afghanistan today than they did before. These are not good people. I personally don't agree with their view of the world. I don't think my brothers do as well. They can speak for themselves. We're not here to claim that we should laud these people. We're not claiming that we should put these people up on a pedestal. It's actually the exact opposite. But what we do believe is that the way that you understand these organizations, the way that you could potentially disrupt these organizations is understanding how to follow the money. Where is $1.6 billion coming from that is funding the Taliban in Afghanistan? So here's the infographic that we have, which shows you exactly how this starts. This is what it was July 12th, July 19th, July 23rd, July 29th, August 5th, August 6th, August 10th, get ready, August 11th, August 12th, August 13th, here we go, August 15th, 16th. Absolute nuts in about a month. Now here's the crazy part. That little yellow spot there that is the contested area no longer is outside of Taliban control either, from what we understand. And so the Taliban in about a month went from controlling very little of the country to controlling everything. And so if you see that $1.6 billion number from a revenue standpoint in the fiscal year that ended March 2020, my guess is that the fiscal year that we are in right now is going to be much, much higher. The Taliban is absolutely emboldened when it comes to taxation, extortion, and their various business lines. 85% of all opium production in the world comes from Afghanistan. On top of that, they may be sitting on the largest lithium mine in the world. How we figured this stuff out, I don't know. I'm not here to claim efficacy or accuracy to every single thing that we read in the news. But what I do know is it's way more money than most people would have expected. And the growth of this has been insane. I think that there's been almost 10x growth in the Taliban revenue over the last 5 years or so?
Yeah, so I was just looking it up. The Taliban revenue grew from $400 million in 2011 to $1.6 billion today. So that's 300% up in 10 years. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy. All while, right, the U.S. government was spending trillions of dollars within the country.
Trying to kill them.
Trying to kill them, obviously, but to build up a sustainable government, to increase financial literacy and literacy in general in the country, and to suppress violence, right? And then you look at the map in 3 days, 2-3 days, that's all it took for the majority of the country to fall back under Taliban control.
The part to me that I want to be extra, extra careful that we explicitly say is these are not good people, right? In terms of what they're doing. I do want to call out that there is a CNN reporter, which people have their problems with CNN, etc. But this woman, Clarissa Ward, I think is her name. She has been on the streets, literally interviewing the Taliban, standing there on a street. I saw a video today. There's not another woman out in the street. Yeah. And she's sitting there, she's literally interviewing people. She's bringing the story, etc. And it's just pretty incredible to see, one, how courageous that woman is and her ability to continue to report under these conditions. But two is when we start to really understand the business that's at play here, right? We talked yesterday about the defense industry. And see if you guys noticed what we did. We got big brains over here. We went first on the U.S. side. What is the financials? Who's making money here? How does the U.S. government spend? Well, we don't even know. Is it billions, hundreds of billions, trillions of dollars? Nobody knows. On top of that, we looked at the defense contractors and how much money they've made over the last 20 years as we fought these what seemed like forever wars. And now we're looking at the Taliban. So it seems like the United States, the defense contractors, and the Taliban, everyone keeps making more and more money. But the people who lose in these situations are the everyday citizens who live in this country. The people of Afghanistan are almost no better off today than they were 10 years ago. I think the only thing that we found that is undisputed increase in the quality of life is the literacy rate in Afghanistan, right?
Yeah, I don't want to quote the numbers wrong, but essentially what I had seen yesterday was somewhere around 5 or 3% or less than 10% for sure was the literacy rate within the country before the U.S. got there, and now it's up closer to 45 or 50%. So that's increased dramatically, but you have to wonder like what's going to happen back under Taliban control, right? Women and women were being kicked out of school. I saw on social media the other day, and like these are all the things that they don't want to happen under their control. So it's tough because you have to imagine kind of worst case scenario, what's going to happen for the next 5 or 10 years if this is what life's going to be like. But that was, yes, one of the great things that the U.S. obviously did, which was bring more literacy to the country and get people educated and all these different things.
Hey guys, thanks so much for watching that clip of The Best Business Show. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications so you know when we go live every weekday, and then head to SoFi.com/pomp so that you can get an account and we can get after it.